All right, we're just gonna pick this thing right back up, and for those that are joining us that missed the first intro, I'll be a little bit shorter, but this is Wrestling Chat with Friends. I am your host, Cheats. I am joined as always by my main man, Elliot the Collector, and we are joined in the middle of the screen. We are very, very excited to have Shoot Taylor joining the show. If you are not familiar, Shoot has been on a roll in 2022, and it's been a pretty. I'm gonna have him tell in his own words, but from the outside looking in, it's been meteoric and it's been kind of a whirlwind. And I'm really, really excited to talk to a young brother who is really coming into his own. What the future is the best is yet to come. So the first question I ask you, I'm going to ask it again so that people can hear your full answer. But we're going to start with now. We'll go back. We'll go in the future. But where you are right now in 2022 is pretty amazing. How do you describe kind of where you are in your career trajectory, and how's 2022 been for someone that's been all over the indies and on major network TV with AEW? How do you describe just kind of progress and where you are right now?
Yeah, man. It's something that's kind of taken a life of its own. Like I when I first started doing this, I kind of felt like I was naturally good at it, and I caught on to things quicker than usual than most people. But it wasn't until I made that switch to the Nightmare Factory this past year where things started to really take off for me, and and now I feel like, yeah, we're on a path headed somewhere, and I'm here for the ride.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that
Okay.
because you were obviously pedigree, history, coming out of a wrestling amateur wrestling background that you were extremely successful, extreme like
Mhm.
all throughout kind of your high school years and just kind of transitioned that to professional wrestling. And obviously it's been noted, it's been documented, you've talked about it, you've been able to meet the legend and work with Teddy Long, you've trained with
Yeah.
some other very popular folks. But I'm intrigued with the Nightmare Factory because it's so much more than kind of what you see on television, on AEW television with QT Marshall. It's a real school, and which is
Hmm.
it 12 weeks that you go through, 12 weeks of training, and then we see on YouTube kind of the Nightmare Showcase, the Nightmare Family Showcase after it's kind of
Hmm.
the end of the training. Tell us a little bit about that process and what made you decide this was the move for me in my career.
Yeah. So the process is, it starts you off with the 12-week camp, which includes strength and conditioning with the strength and conditioning coaches. It includes meal plans with nutritionists, promo classes with the great Cody Rhodes, and obviously the in-ring stuff. And once the 12 weeks is up, you have your student showcase, and then if they like you, they keep you around for the night classes, and you continue on training there. Um, I felt that this was the right move because it just made sense. I live in Georgia, and that's the biggest and best quality school here. It's just a no brainer. I feel like for someone who not only live in Georgia, but if you want to be at the highest level in this business, there's that place. That's where you got to go.
Now take us behind the curtain because I like this.
Okay.
I like where you're going with this. Take us behind the curtain. You have obviously been a successful athlete, pretty much. I'm assuming, like I said, through your amateur background in your high school, but I'm assuming
Sure.
someone like yourself has been a successful athlete as you've been a competitor, right? Just growing up,
Hmm.
you're a competitor, you're a successful athlete. There are levels, right, to being a professional athlete. There are levels to like every level you advance, you start to look around and you're like, man, there's no scrubs here. Everybody can play. When
Yep.
you got to a place in Atlanta like the Nightmare Factory and you look around, did you still have that level? I mean, you're always going to be a confident individual, but did you look around and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, man, everybody can play here," or did you say, "Hey, this is me. This is all me. I got this."
It's interesting because, you know, when I first got there, um, like the other place that I started training at that's no longer around, I was kind of a standout there, and that's where Teddy Long, developed a liking for me and eventually sent me off to WWE tryouts and stuff. But after that, and I came to the Nightmare Factory, like you said, everyone there is talented, and so I wasn't discouraged, but it also made me realize that I have to do more to get recognized, to be noticed. I can't just do what I've been doing, which got eyes on me. I have to kind of take it to another level, and I enjoy it that way because it kind of makes you can't slack there. You got to always stay on your A game, and every time I look around that place and see the talent that's in there, I can't help but to think like this is the future of the business. Like people don't know it yet, or maybe they do, but everyone that's walking through those doors a few years down the line is going to be at the top of this business.
That's fantastic. And tell us a little bit about your personality when it comes to this business, because you're I mean, a lot of success early, considerably, but you're still very young in relative
Mm-hmm.
terms to
Yeah.
what this means. So when you're tell us a little bit about your approach in regards to just handling business, doing your work, obviously in the ring, doing your strength and conditioning. But I don't think people fully understand the grind of what it means to be a professional wrestler, and especially one that is in the indies a lot, and one
Yeah.
that is trapped. Like they don't fully understand what that grind is like. And so I'm interested, did you kind of know what you were getting into with, I don't know if it's 365 days out of the year, you're probably working over 200, 300 plus of them, but you're working in, who knows, Richmond, Virginia, or Atlanta,
Yeah.
Georgia, or
Yeah.
so when how have you approached this grind, and what's your mentality been as you're now kind of at a place where you're kind of through a lot of the kind of what the form, like the early training, and now you're kind
Mm-hmm.
of looked at in a different level. How do you approach
Mm-hmm.
that grind, and how and is there things that you've learned along the way?
I just look at it like it has to go hand in hand with where I want to end up. I grew up watching these documentaries and these clips of guys like Triple H, talking to the tough enough guys and different stuff like that, saying what this business has in store for them. And so I always expected it to be grueling and demanding. But you never truly know till you're actually in it. And it's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of long road trips. In the beginning, it's a lot of working for very little pay, but through it all, I just always kind of had in the back of my mind that the work that I'm doing now will eventually plant me to where I need to be. And it seems as if I'm slowly but surely getting to where I need to be. So I just think it goes hand in hand.
Excellent. Elliot, I'm going to let you jump in. I got tons more for shoot, but I want you to jump in and start to ask our special guest some questions.
Thanks. Shoot, you sound like a man a lot wiser than the probably 23, 24 years that you are. I don't want to put an age on you, but
Look, he's young enough where he could say, "You mind us asking how?"
I'm 21. I'm 21.
Exactly.
Okay,
21.
Well, you sound like a man a lot wiser than even 23, 24. So what strikes me is you came up kind of in the early 2000s, I guess, watching wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't even alive during the Monday Night Wars. When have you, or did you, or what have you consumed pre your living knowledge of wrestling? What are some of the things you've gone back on YouTube or watched that have maybe even influenced your career a little bit?
I try to watch everything, man. I try to go back to every era, every time period, everything. I have watched some Attitude Era stuff. My dad was a really big fan of Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. Those are his guys. So I try to watch a lot of those guys, and I love to watch William Regal. Yeah, man, I watch everything. I'm a student of the game.
You sound like it. You sound like it. A
Yeah.
lot, Mark and I, our formative years are literally watching some of those. So I can really kind of only imagine what it's like for someone, what you're picking and choosing to sort of follow.
Mhm.
Some of your just earliest influences in the WWE. Who do you think you started modeling your mindset or career after? Who are some of your just very earliest heroes in the game?
Well, growing up in the early 2000s, Cena was my guy. Kurt Angle was my guy. Randy Orton was my guy. I didn't get to see The Rock in his prime, but growing up and being able to see the John Cena and The Rock thing was like that was like the biggest thing for me growing up. So I know you guys have saw the real Rock,
Look, I'm chuckling because I look, if The Rock was here, he'd be like, in my prime. he was like, hold on, don't get yourself in trouble now, because look, I have a feeling.
Well, at the height of his professional wrestling career,
the active, the not super movie star.
What's really amazing, Shoot, and I've just recently preparing for this interview with you, watched a lot of things I could find of you online.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling takes obviously, to be successful, a good mix of both physical ability and being able to be charismatic, and you have that part down more than a lot of, I think, people who are 21 years old who have been in it as long as you have. How is it just pure? Is that your personality just dialed up to 100, or are you reaching down in and finding something that's not really in you? Because we're going to get later in this interview about who you are outside the business, but where did this amazing promo ability come from? Is it all Cody?
Yeah, most of it is Cody. Like he really taught me how to turn it up a notch, because I'm really uncomfortable with doing promos and character work, even in the ring. Man.
You wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have that. I kind of have this fear of looking foolish, and I feel like I still haven't tapped into a space where I can fully commit emotionally to what I'm doing. It's a process, and I'm getting there. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I would say growing up and like every kid that loved pro wrestling, cutting promos on your stuffed animals and cutting promos in the mirror, that kind of that's where it all started. That's how I kind of got used to doing it. But I don't know. I don't feel comfortable when I do it. So
well, I have to ask because was it a little bit earlier this year? You cut some newer promos, kind of almost like a little bit of a personality change. That's like the old singlet goes into the fire trash can, and the new shoot trailer comes out, and this is extremely charismatic. And this is the I want to make sure I got it right, but is it the IWN heavyweight champion of the world? Like this is this is the something that I really thought when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is another level that we saw some new stuff and another level and a new promo and a promo that you can take from circuit to circuit and say, this is something I'm developing. And like Elliot said, to your credit, you seemed really, really comfortable in that setting. And I was going to ask, is that just a level of kind of you wanting to step your game up, saying, hey, look, the amateur background is that's yesterday. The Shoot Taylor that's got a little bit more bravado is today.
Yeah, for sure. Like even with that promo, so much went into that. That I thought about for a while, and I picture that in my head, and I wanted it to look a certain way cinematically. But yeah, I think there's gonna continue to be levels to this, and I'm gonna continue to kind of build upon it. And with pro wrestling, it's beautiful because we even though we tell stories in the ring, our careers are overall story, and I feel like there's chapters to it, and
Absolutely.
each chapter of my career, I'm going to shed something, I'm going to add something, I'm going to keep something. There's going to be some Easter eggs in there, and that's the beautiful part of it, man. And as I continue to grow and become better at this game that we are in, as far as pro wrestling, you're gonna see that in my body of work. So yeah.
Talk to me quickly. Oh, good. I'm sorry, Elliot. I may cut you.
Well,
Go
you
ahead.
are getting better, and we'll get Mark. If you want to keep with your line of questioning, I want to get a little bit outside the wrestling business, talk about Shoot as a person. But if we're not ready for that yet, go with your next question.
Well, because I gotta ask. Because again, 2022 has been amazing for Shoot in many ways. I'm assuming, because I don't know, you can tell me, there's nothing more amazing than getting a call to saying you're going to be on national TV with AEW. And you're going to be in part of the factory, and you're going to start, people are going to see more eyes, for better or for worse. More eyes are going to see you do what you do in many ways, and on TV, national TV, whether it's Dynamite or Rampage or anything like that. Talk to me about that moment where you get like every younger look. We live in a AA baseball town here in Richmond, Virginia. When
Okay.
the double A kid gets called to the show, whether that kid has been in the minors for 8 years or 2 months, it's got to be this interesting feeling where you're kind of stepping in the unknown. Now, you had connections with the factory and the school and Cody and QT and those guys, but when you get the call that says I'm going to be on AEW, what was that process like? And tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, at that point, I really didn't have the connection. It's funny because I had just started going there. I think I was in like week 2 of the camp.
Oh, really?
And
Word.
yeah, I didn't even know QT like that. I didn't even know Cody. Like I don't, I have no idea. Like, and that's the thing about that whole situation. I wasn't really able to process what was happening because I'm like, I made up in my mind that I was gonna dedicate these 12 weeks to this camp, and I was going to head down and just focus and grind it all the way out. And then like the 2 or 3 week mark, I got that call at home, like literally before I was about to get ready to leave and head to the school for training that day. And it was from Coach QT, and he said, we're going to bring you to TV, but you got to go do this, and that. And by the way, we're leaving tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, I didn't have time to process that whole situation. And then I went to another state, and then, I got there, and that happened. That was the biggest crowd I've wrestled in front of.
That's
and
amazing.
Then I just had to sit back and be like, what just happened? I don't even know. I still don't know.
So I was going to say, now that you look back at it, what did happen? Like, if you're in week 2 or 3, how did you get the call? Like, did people know who you were before you kind of went to the class? Is that how, did you have feelers out?
I would like to believe that in those 2 weeks, they saw something that they liked.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
That's what I would like to believe. Yeah, man.
So when you
walked, have you had time to? I want to go about that night. So
yeah,
that all happens. You're putting your street clothes back on. It's happened. You've had the experience. Did you get to like the scene you kind of always see in the movies? Did you walk out to a dark theater and sort of look around, one more look before you walked
the empty
out?
Arena?
Did you? It's funny. I did get to see the arena before the show, and I still think I was so laser focused on the night and just the task at hand that I didn't get a chance to like really soak it in. But I don't know, man. And then the thing about Rampage too was a pre-tape, so I couldn't say anything about it.
I was gonna say, who'd you call?
So, like,
that was my question. Who do you call when you like, I'm gonna be on? Who do you call? Who's the first person?
No one but my mother, man. She's the only one I really told about it. Yeah. And the cool thing about that too is I always dreamed of, because I'm a big combat sport fan, so I love like those big fight feel, those big pay-per-view moments where people are at bars, at different places watching the main event of a fight, where there's UFC or boxing or whatever. And my mother ended up telling me that she was out that night when it finally aired on television. I had to go to Fort Lauderdale for another show, but she was telling me that she was out at a place, and she made them turn the channel to watch me, and that was kind of like one of those moments where
That's
I was like,
awesome.
okay, wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really quick, I know Elliot, because we're gonna get into this, but since you said your mother's the person you call, and she had the bar turned up just to see her son on Rampage. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the relationship that you have with either family, friends, your mother growing up, if she was the rock for you at all these parts, and because again, and we're gonna say this, we're gonna sound like broken records because we're old and washed, but at such it's still a young age to have a support system that you have to be independent on your own, traveling all the time. Talk to me about the relationship with either your mother or the ones that you trust the most.
Yeah, I can say I've been fortunate enough to have a great support system growing up. Whatever I wanted to do, my parents kind of supported me, and that's where the whole amateur wrestling thing started. Like most people, I thought it was professional wrestling style, and when I saw that there was wrestling in school, I was like, I want to do that, and then found out it was a totally different thing, but I
Right.
stuck with it, and they stuck by me the whole time. They never missed a match. When I wanted to start training in pro wrestling, 17 years old, I was still in high school, and they helped me pay for that, and they supported me from going to school, going to amateur wrestling practice, and going to pro wrestling practice, and doing it over the next day and the next day and the next day. And they supported my decision to not go to college and to pursue professional wrestling. So yeah, that upbringing from my parents, and I had that support system. Can't say I'd be where I am without it. Yeah.
That's
Fantastic.
awesome.
And you sound humble and grateful. Since this
Yes,
is wrestling
indeed.
chat, since this is wrestling chat with friends, we're gonna take the wrestling part off just for a second and just talk as friends. So I just want to shoot some questions at you, and you just sort of like, and
Okay.
these aren't gonna be wrestling related. When you
Okay.
were in fifth grade, you and what would your friends have said you were gonna be when you grew up?
My friend's a professional wrestler.
Yeah,
I in fifth grade, actually. This is how I met my best friend that I still have to this day. We had to do an assignment where we had to say what we wanted to be when we grew up, and we both wrote professional wrestler. And then that's where it clicked. I was like, whoa, you want to be a wrestler too? And then we kind of became friends from that moment. So yeah, that professional wrestler.
Okay, so growing up, you
I
guys are
love it.
watching
Love it.
Monday Night Raw. You know, having I'm
Yeah.
sure you're watching that. When you weren't thinking about professional wrestling, what other interests? What were you doing on Friday nights? What were you doing with your
Like,
friends
don't get in
outside
trouble.
of?
Don't get yourself in trouble.
No, no, legit. Like, what other things outside of the wrestling world really are your key interests?
Are we still talking about fifth grade, or we
No.
No.
Okay,
Like,
okay. Um, I'm not into much, man. I like to write. I'm a fanatic of combat sports, and that's just me, man. I'm into acting. I've done a little bit of acting, so yeah,
Okay,
man.
so
I'm in this.
what's your movie genre? Are you comedy? Are you horror?
I'm a student of the game. I like everything. I hmm. I'm a big fan of the drama lane. You know, I feel like emotion you can't, it's unmatched. Like when the emotion's there, and when a movie actually make you feel a certain emotion, when movies make grown men cry, and that's when you tap into something else. Because I mean, everyone could, do the regular stuff, but when you make a grown man cry, you're onto something,
You're giving it. The next few questions I have are so ridiculous compared to the answers that you're giving. You're working at a much higher level than I am. So, do you collect anything when you're home chilling? Do you have any passions? Do you collect?
as you can
Growing up,
see
did you
behind
collect?
Elliot,
Yeah, I mean,
Elliot. We
right.
got to get
Do you
to
collect what
Taylor.
sort of toys? Pokemon, basketball cards. Did you anything?
I don't collect anything now,
Don't collect
but
anything
I
now.
still have my I'm gonna sound like a nerd when I say this, but I still have
Look who
my
you're talking to.
I still have my Pro Wrestling Magazine collection and the DVD collection that I had as a kid. I don't know why I still have it. And I was a successful amateur wrestler, so I collected medals for a long time.
Yeah, you did.
Look, because I'm a huge boxing fanatic as well. I'm not 100% there with UFC. I'm getting there with UFC. I saw the Usman fight, the Leon Edwards Usman fight. UFC, man. No, I'm a huge boxing guy. Like I don't miss a fight. So let me ask this as a combat sports aficionado: Crawford or Spence? Who do you like? Line them up.
Say that again.
Terrence Crawford or Earl Spence? Who do you like?
Oh man,
tough.
Geez, why you have to do me like that?
That's a tough one.
Phenomenal fighters, dog.
Right. Top of the game.
Errol, has Errol Spence been the same since the car accident?
I think so. He fought Danny Garcia and beat the bricks off of him, and I mean, he didn't look any worse for wear. I'm gonna have to go Terrence Crawford on that one. I'm gonna have to go Terrence Crawford. I like it.
That's a tough one. That's tough.
And then this is the last combat sports question I'll ask as we go through this. But actually, it might not be. But there's a bunch of young guns. Whether you're talking about Teofimo Lopez, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, Shakur Stevenson. When it's all said and done, Vasily Lomachenko, when it's all said and done, when you look at that 135, you know what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about T.O., Shakur, Tank Davis, who's the guy we're looking at saying this guy cleaned them all out? Who's the guy that sits on top of that?
I'm gonna give you my answer and then I'm gonna say something else. That. I'm gonna say Tank Davis. You look at that guy. He's like a little Mike Tyson. Like
he hits hard. He hits hard.
I mean, yeah. Like where is he right now? What 24, 25-0?
Yeah, he might be more than that actually. Yeah, but he's sitting at 140, so he's sitting heavier than some of the other guys.
Yeah, but most of those are knockouts. And
yeah, absolutely.
That guy he's a star, man. I think he's gonna be the next generation. He's gonna be that guy. But my problem that I have with boxing, which is why I'm kind of leaning more towards UFC at the moment, is because all those names you just named. Yep. We're probably not gonna see those guys.
They gotta make the fights. They gotta make the fights.
It's so weird that the way boxing is, where we don't get to see the fights that we want, and we have all these guys build their records, but we never truly know who the best really is.
So I'll tell you, we're gonna see Crawford Spence. We'll see that whether it's at the end of 23, probably 24. We'll see it. There's too much money. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. The thing that really and Elliot, we're going on a tangent. I'll stop and we'll go back to where we need to be. But the thing that still troubles me about UFC to this day, and it might be a lot like the pro wrestling business, we should talk about the comparisons of this, is because one guy controls UFC. All respect to Dana White, guy's a genius, but he sets the purses, right? Yeah. So at the top of the purse, you've got Usman and Edwards making tons of money. And then the breakdowns of kind of what the undercard pay is compared to what the UFC makes, it's still stuff that's got to be worked on. So I get it. I understand why it happens. I have a lot of respect for the UFC, and I'm becoming a fan of it. The reason why boxing is the way it is, it's because they've got 50 million promoters. There's not one body that's in charge, and they make all these fake belts. But what they also do is they make these purse bids. Right. So it's like when Haney and Kambosa can't get a deal and they make this purse bid and somebody pays X number of millions of dollars for the fight. There's a little bit if you can swindle it in there, there's a little bit of an equity stake that's a little bit more profitable in the long run, because that's why they build up these fake records.
I feel like there has to be some sort of balance, man. Like,
there does.
The beautiful thing about UFC is it's one promotion. It's under one banner. It's a lot more cleaner and less unorganized than boxing. Is a lot of less moving parts. And to piggyback off what you said, say what you want about Jake Paul, but that's the guy that's coming in and calling Dana White out on this stuff and kind of starting that conversation about fighter pay et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that's my.
So we can go on a
one.
tangent, but
Yeah.
that's an interesting transition for us to make, because I'm fascinated. You said you're a student of the game, and I can already tell, but just talking to you, when you look at other young, I'm saying 25 and under, we do this all the time on the show, talk about who we think is 25 and under, who's going to be the kind of the future of the business. But when you look around and you see, people, peers that are, I would say in your case, 25, 24 and under, and you're looking around and you're seeing who's going to be next up, we're already going to put you in that category. Who do you see as you travel? Who do you see as you travel through, either the indie circuit, or you see what's happening on the major companies or even overseas? Who do you like? Who do you see as a young person that's like, I like to work with that person, or I look forward to working with that person?
The Renegades. Every time I see the Renegade Twins in the ring, it's just I feel like they're levels above a lot of people in this business, and I look at them as like the future of the space. What's mine? You guys know Teriyaki?
Do we know? I don't. Do you know?
I know the name and have seen a couple of videos and not too much.
Yeah, that's my guy. He's Teriyaki. He's a young kid too. He's I believe he's 20 years old. But yes, he was at the camp. Yeah, he's also a WWA 4 guy, so he's training under AR Fox as well.
Okay.
But yeah, talk about another student of the game. He loves the Japanese style of professional wrestling, and yeah, he's somebody to look out for as well.
So that's a good question for somebody like yourself. When it's interesting, because when we look at really, really talented stars in the business, they always seem to have these runs, whether it's overseas in New Japan or some other, they went overseas and wrestled quite, an extent of time, honed their skills, learned a different style, came back to the States. Is that something in regards to your future that you would look for? Have you done that? Is that something you look forward to doing, is traveling maybe overseas and working some stints in different promotions that are outside of the United States?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think at some point, you can't really truly say that you're the best at this if you haven't, dabbled in everything and experienced every single style. And I definitely think at some point I'll do that. Things are going so well here right now, but yeah, for sure, I'm gonna definitely do that one of these days.
Are you watching the WWE product at all with any regularity? Do you have any thoughts on what they're doing? I know it's not. You're primarily focused on your up-and-coming potential with AEW, which looks bright. But as just a casual fan, are you still interested right now? Or are you sort of singularly focused on sort of what you're doing?
I see a little bit of stuff going on at WWE. I think we're going to see a lot of changes there with Triple H being the guy over there now, and I still think Roman is putting out his best work. That's another guy who I think is levels above everyone in the business. Like,
it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's operating on a whole nother wavelength than everyone else, and yeah, so I keep up a little bit.
When you say you enjoy writing, does that include your creative? And I say that because there's always kind of this push and pull between professional wrestlers and their creative, how much influence they have on it, what they can do, what they can't do. For somebody that enjoys writing, storytelling, even kind of in a cinematic view, are you a type of guy that comes in and says, hey, look, I've got this idea for my creative, this idea, or at this point it's you kind of hold that back a little bit until figure out what's the best place for you to fit in and move on?
Well, when it's things on the independents, it's all on me. And even with those like vignettes and promo packages you see, like I actually write those down. Nice. I create scripts for those and everything, like from from what you see to what you hear. When it comes to like AEW Dark and everything, I'm a student in that space, and so I don't think I'm at a stage in my career where I should be pitching anything. I'm just taking all the opportunities I can take.
I'm with you.
Yes,
Elliot, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and then we'll close out Mr. Taylor, because he's been so generous with his time and all the things that we all the technical issues that we've had.
For as much as you can tell us, what does the sort of the next 6 months of your career look like? What do you have kind of going on, and like start telling us where fans can kind of see you over the next several weeks and months, for as much as you can tell us.
a lot of pro wrestling, man. I'm continuing to do the thing with AEW Dark, so you see me on that. I believe I'm going to be, because it's a pre-tape, so I think next week you'll see me on AEW Dark. I'm working at a promotion called Battle Slam in Atlanta. I take a lot of pride in that because, as you know, Baron Black, another AEW regular, started that thing and it's kind of grown into a life of his own. And there's a championship tournament going on with that, so I'm going to dabble in that. I've already qualified, so maybe you'll see me as the first Battle Slam World Champion. And District Wrestling just started in Atlanta. I'll be there too.
Is Battle Slam
our preferred champ? Yeah.
Is Battle Slam the one where Lil Scrappy was choke slamming people?
That's the one. Lil Scrappy.
Gotta love
Can I
it.
get a little Scrappy match? What I gotta do to wrestle?
Look, you know what? You mess around, you gonna be on one of the VH1 shows and all kinds of stuff. Mess around with Scrappy. But that's Battle Slam and some of the other things, because it's so important for us. I've got a 7-year-old son, loves wrestling. It's so important to us to see people of color represented in ways that are diverse, exciting, interesting. And one of the things that struck me about the Battle Slam show, or even, independent shows like Terminus, independent shows that feature a lot of people of color, African-American wrestlers, the space has changed so much, and it's changed rapidly to the point where if I wanted to take my son to a Battle Slam that features so many wrestlers of color, so many wrestlers that have different personalities and swag, that's even probably different from when you were growing up watching wrestling. Talk to us a little bit about seeing that, representing that, being a young gun in places where you could join a show that has so much diversity and character. Do you ever think about that in regards to like what that means as we move forward and how we depict wrestlers that, we're long away from the days of, RIP to Kamala and Junkyard Dog, where they have these kind of really, outlandish stereotypical type things, but you're in many ways representing a new wave that I think everybody can be proud of. Do you ever kind of put that in perspective and say, I am a wrestler, but I'm also a wrestler of color, and I want to be portrayed in certain ways?
Yeah, I think Battle Slam and Terminus, promotions like that are finally showing people that we could be represented in a different light, and we could perform at the highest level. And, growing up, like in most eras, people of color only had a few people to kind of look up to. It was never too many at one time that, it was never a lot. So now kids that watch wrestling have a bunch of wrestlers they can choose from to want to be like, or to look at, to inspire them. And that's the cool thing, to kind of be involved in a business that has become a place where, there's more representation. I think that's very important, and we're only just getting started with where it's gonna go.
21 years old, Cheats. Not bad.
No, he said, look, the future's bright. The future's bright, and
thank you.
We're gonna see not just on AEW TV, I'm sure, but all throughout a run that I can't imagine. 2022's we'll end on this. 2022 has been a phenomenal year for you. What is, if you look back right now, and it's only September, so you look back September 1st, geez, years going by. What is, if you look back on this year, what's the thing that you're most proud of?
I think one of the best moments of my life I'll be able to forever have is my mom telling me that she watched me on national TV, and made the bar wherever she was turn the channel like that. That's something that'll stick with me forever. Not even just this year. So that's got to be the highlight.
That's awesome. Elliot, last question. We're gonna get shoot out of here.
My last question is, I hope you're keeping up with Chris over at United Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, we need you back.
When they come back to Richmond, can you just make sure you're booked on that card so we can see you live in person?
I'll make it happen. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wrestling Chat with Friends. We want to be able to put our friends over. Tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, and keep up with all your work.
At Shoot Taylor on everything. Shoot Taylor on Instagram, Shoot Taylor on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Shoot Taylor. Very simple. Yep.
That is it. We are going to be back with a special AEW pay-per-view preview on Sunday, probably, I'm guessing, Elliot, around 6 or 7 before
showtime. Sure.
Just before showtime. We're so excited about that. We've got to thank Shoot. What we're going to do right now is we're going to end this amazing show as we always do. We're going to count people out on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Until next time.
Thank you, Shoot.
Thank y'all for having me.
All right. We have ended the live stream. Thank you so much for making it happen. Thank you for bearing with us. The Zoom, for whatever reason, the Zoom sounded so much better than the restream. Yeah. So, and it was kind of streaming on Facebook. Look, let's ask this off the air. You don't have, you can give us the PC question. The politically correct answer if you want to. We don't mind. We understand.
Talk to me.
What is all of the stuff that's happening? Is it as chaotic for talent like yourself? Is it as chaotic with all the backstage stuff and dirt sheet stuff? Or is it really, are you able kind of to stay focused and not worry about like, what the hell, like, why did CM Punk wrestle on Dynamite, get squashed, and now he's wrestling again? Like, we as fans are looking at this like, what's happening? What are they thinking? As you as talent, is it as chaotic, or is it just like, hey, keep your head down and go with it?
Brother, I am just in the dark as you are. I have no idea what's happening. I see things and I'm just like a fan. I'm like, what was that? What's going on? I have no idea.
Why are they doing this?
I don't get to see. I don't see like much of the backstage things. I just hear about it. And so I have no idea, man.
Amazing. The only really thing that sort of really intrigued me is you've had the unique position of wrestling Hook, who I'm sure you're pals with him, maybe through the factory.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell me that, because his character has been built in a very unique way, and it's actually intriguing. A lot of people are invested in it. When the cameras are off, he's a pretty chill cat, isn't he? I'm guessing he is.
Cool guy. Yeah. He's a real laid back guy. Even like the first day I was there, he didn't even know me. And he gave me his number. He took mine down and, followed me on Instagram and kind of like welcomed me there. And yeah, he's a really cool guy. And Taz as well. Every time I see them, they treat me with the utmost respect, So they go out of their way to speak to me. Yeah, those are two stand-up guys.
Well, yeah, what they're really doing with his character as someone, and there's been characters in the past who are men of few words, but his look, his scowl, and the way they're sort of keeping him from interacting. When they eventually do, I'm sure he's got the charisma. He's just going to win over everybody.
What you see on TV though is really what you get. He's really a laid back guy. He's really laid back. Like other than when I first got there, him with us exchanging numbers, and it's always a hey, what's up when I see him. But he's usually chilling by himself with his hoodie on, like real life. Yeah.
Let me ask this again, off the record. You don't have to answer because I know when like you're saying week 2, you get a call that says we're gonna bring you to TV. You've got 10 more weeks of that class at least, right? 9 more weeks. When you go back, do people like? I'm sure they're congratulatory, but are they like, what the hell? What just happened?
Well, yeah, and QT even told me that he was like, when you go back, people are gonna look at you differently now.
Right, there's gonna be you're the guy now.
Yeah. So I got those sarcastic comments like, what's up, superstar? But I got that stuff, but that comes with the game.
So and I'm always interested because, like I said, 21 years old, bright future, and you get a call like that, you're a student of the game. In the sense that, like, so for example, and this is just comparison, right? When you get somebody like Hook, who's also very young, or even Private Party, someone that's, they're young folks, but if they come in kind of with a storyline that allows them to, or Dante Martin, right? They come in with a storyline that allows them to be a face, or like, you know what I mean, able to show a lot of things, and then they say, and they give you the call, which is a great opportunity, and say, well, you're gonna wrestle Hook, and you're just like, well, you know how that's gonna happen on the other end. So it's like, how do you, in many ways, kind of set yourself up for you to be one of the guys when we're looking 4 or 5 years down the line and says, oh, he's got to flip a switch, right? Like he can't just be the guy that is on the other end of the star, right? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think Cody Rhodes said it best on the Stone Cold podcast. The best position to really be brought in as is like a student. The position that I was brought in as a QT student, because there's so much room to grow there.
Right.
People
That makes
don't
sense.
expect much out of you when you're coming in as, oh, you're a QT student, you know what I'm saying? And you have matches like that. But it's actually harder to be brought in the position of Hook and Dante Martin and guys like that, because they have such a high expectation put on them.
Yeah.
And like it's so like, and especially with a guy like Dante Martin, he does everything. He
does
really
everything
gifted.
well. Yeah.
So like, how do you improve on that?
I think you got to find. So I think the good example of this recently, if we're talking about AEW, is you got to find what they did with Garcia, what they're doing with Garcia now, what they did with Wheeler. Like you were saying, they bought him into the stable as like the young guy, right? But if you look at what they're doing with Yuta now, it's like, or Garcia, they know, like, everybody identifies like these guys are talented, right? They haven't figured it out with Dante, because they've been trying to kind of put him with, I thought in my mind, he should have joined Team Taz. Like when they did the whole Team Taz thing, they wanted to keep him a face, and they tried to make my guy Leo Rush something. I was like, Dante, go ahead and join Team Taz, smack him like you had a chance. But no, man,
I think to your point, the advantage of having the student sort of
awesome.
angle is that you get to, at some point, if it works out, you sort of break away and become sort of your own. And that's definitely the moment that puts you on a higher level. Whereas you were saying, Dante, you're high, your first move might be a kick back down, brought back to earth. But as a student, you get that breakaway moment, and then and
there's so many stories you can tell too from elevating from a student. It could be the student versus teacher thing. It could be it could be so much.
Mm-hmm. All right, where can we as this show and people that are gonna support you and retweet you and do a bunch of stuff, where can we be looking out? I know we're gonna look out on AEW, but where can we be looking out just to find some things that you're excited about and doing? Obviously, we're gonna follow you. We do follow you on social, but we're gonna ramp it up and make sure that obviously you're supported by our clique and the people that watch our show, and hopefully you'll have a lot of new friends in Richmond, Virginia.
Just my socials, man. I'm gonna start doing some fitness products and stuff too, so cool. We can talk about that, awesome. Everything.
Awesome.
Yeah, bro.
Nah, man, we wish you the very, very best of luck, man. And obviously in this business, we wish you great health as well. As it seems like you got everything in place. We want you to stay healthy and keep killing it and keep growing, my man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate that, man. I'm gonna send you guys my number.
Yeah, dude.
Anything, just hit me up.
We got you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for making this happen, man.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you
All
guys
right.
having me.
You
All
bet.
right, see ya.
Take care.